Well, hello, it's your mental performance coach, EPOPS. I just finished a lesson, and in the lesson today, my client was chatting to me about how when I'm not there, the degree of negative chatter they have, feelings of anxiety coming up to a fence that we would jump together is pretty straightforward, whereas when she's doing it by herself, it's a lot more challenging. So we were talking about an exercise that's called Find Your Flashlight. Your attention is like a flashlight. So let's say it's dark at night and you're going for a walk in the woods and there's owls and there's crickets and frogs and you're shining the light on the ground and it's dark and you were trying to keep your eyes open for rocks and twigs and boulders and cliffs. And from behind you, you hear breathing and the crack of a branch, and you take your flashlight and you whip it around to look at that thing that might be behind you. That's what your attention is like. Your attention is like a flashlight, and you can only shine it in one place at a time. So if you are not able to engage and pay attention and focus on your job, if you're listening to your negative self-chatter, if you're giving yourself these really terrible messages, you're not actually focusing on your job, which is getting your horse to the fence in balance, in rhythm, with the energy they require, so on and so forth. So if we think about our attention as being a flashlight, I need to train my flashlight. So we're going to be talking about how do we train our flashlights. For now, my suggestion to my client was, I just want you to pay attention to when your flashlight goes where you don't want it to go, and to pay attention ever so briefly, just take note of what kind of things have distracted it. So think about it as training a rotten little puppy, right? So this cute, adorable little puppy who you're trying to teach to do whatever, and it keeps getting distracted and it's running after things and snurfling and picking up sticks and just being silly. You don't lose your temper with the puppy and get mean and rough and say terrible things and I can never train this puppy and it's an idiot, and you just go get the puppy and you say, come puppy, let's try again. I want you to think about this thing in the same way. You're just trying to figure out, where is my attention wandering off to? Take note of it and bring it back. I will tell you, most of the time, we are time traveling, or we are giving ourselves negative words. We either are time traveling into the future, this terrible thing, what if, blah, 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 or we're time traveling backwards and thinking, well, last time I did this, it was all these terrible things. So we either time travel, that's really common. And the other thing that's really common is really super negative self-chatter. I'm an idiot, I'm gonna miss the distance, I never get this right, so on and so forth. So if you are one of those people, we're gonna work on trying to be kinder, like training a puppy, being more empathetic, more sympathetic. One of the other things that I talk about a lot is, do you think you could make a better hamburger than McDonald's? And most of the time people say, well, yeah, of course. I know what I like in a burger and what I'd put in it. I'd use better quality meat and all those sorts of things. So my question is, if you could make a better burger, why on earth are you here doing whatever you're doing? They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation who's found all over the globe. So why are you not as successful as them? And the reality is, they have this thing down so well, advertising. They constantly give us messages, right? We hear the jingle, we see the big yellow arches everywhere. It's on children's cartoons. It's in between whatever program you're streaming. You're constantly getting interrupted. And so McDonald's has done this exemplary job of constantly hijacking us, hijacking our attention, advertising to us on a regular basis. One of the things we have to learn to do is to touch regularly, advertise to ourselves regularly, the good, the awesome, the strong. Because in the moment of performance, that's not the time for me to be looking back and reflecting on stuff that I needed to do in practice. When I'm competing, when I'm performing, when I'm doing that really hard thing, that's the time to be paying attention to my highlight reel, to the good things I've got, to be touching those positive advertising campaigns, just like McDonald's does. They keep like popping them in constantly. They pick the best times, like commercial break, you got a little bit of time to go grab some food, right? So they constantly are awesome at advertising. We have to get better at advertising to ourselves and advertising to one another, capitalizing, touching, reminding ourselves of our strengths, what we do well, and in performance, that is crucial. There is a time for looking at what we need to work on. It's also important how we frame that. But that's a conversation for another day. So for now, your 2 pieces of homework are: pay attention to where your flashlight goes when you get hijacked. Where does it wander off to? And just take note. Is it time travel? Or is it negative self-chatter? Or is it something else? Willing to bet it's one of those first 2. And just like a naughty puppy, bring it back. Gotta focus, gotta stay in this moment, be where my feet are, help my horse get to the right distance. What's the pace? When's the transition? So on and so forth. And the other thing I want you to think about is being more aware of how awesome your advertising campaign to yourself needs to be. This is your mental performance coach, wishing you the most awesome ride ahead.